I wanted to take a moment to unravel the universe with you because I don't think it's that complex. I feel like it's really simple. I feel like spiritual ascension has taken so many different forms, you know, taken insane, like, trees and branches, when really it all comes down to a very simple equation, you know? And I think that, how do I say, the complication of that equation can lead to so many different, problems. But what if we thought about mathematically the nature of existence? Yeah? Everything that exists, right? And it exists for a reason, okay? And I put it to you that that baseline reason is love. That sounds hairy-fairy, okay? But I don't mean that in a hairy-fairy way. What I mean is that love is a scientific process that the universe has been going through since the very beginning of its creation, at which point in time, the electric polarity of a want to exist and self-love, a sense of manifestation, you know, which would have brought about some scientific process, but that emotional balance that we feel in ourselves was the emotional balance that the universe feels in terms of creation, because love is what brings us to create. It's what brings two elements together in order to create a third element. Now, if that sounds hairy-fairy, I want to exemplify that the only reason I'm bringing up the word love is because one thing that we can see is that everything that exists, the universe loved it. The universe was like, oh, I love this. And so it made it, because it's that simple. It's like when the universe loves something, it is created. When the universe hates something, it is destroyed. And that rarely happens. It's really hard to destroy anything, truly. You can destroy the form of it, but you will be left with the matter, because the universe loves all matter. What the universe doesn't love is ideas, like beliefs and politics. Do you see what I mean? Politics and beliefs about anything, like whether or not you like bananas, or whether or not all advertise adverts are lies. The universe doesn't care. The universe doesn't love ideas, and so the ideas don't take physical form because they don't love them. And that's not to say that we shouldn't have ideas. Humans love ideas, which gives us the power to love invisible and untangible things, which is amazing. But it has to be all love, because here's the thing about the universe. The universe hates some things. The universe hates things that don't exist. So the universe pushes things out of existence that it doesn't like, right? Obviously, if the universe has gotten rid of something, it's because it was unsustainable and it was rejected out of the very nature of existence. So there are many things that don't exist, and those are the things that we hate, like murder. Murder doesn't exist. Now, it happens in the past and it can happen in the future, right? But it's not something we should have to live with on a daily basis. It's something that we can identify as a happening that doesn't have to happen, and so we hate it because we can see that the universe isn't trying to do that, and like, the reason I'm bringing up love and hate is that the universe itself has given us an equation of 1 and 0. 1 being love and 0 being hate. That is not to say that there is some kind of binary nature to gender. Don't take it there. Come back. Come back. There's love and there's hate. Love creates, hate destroys. Okay? Now, once love creates something, it splits off into many different directions, and all of those directions look at love in a very different way. Like we get many different religions, but that's interesting because on some level, that's ideas and it's intangible. What we really get when the universe loves creation and loves life is that it creates a diverse range of life, and each one of those creatures love life in a different way, you know? And as many religions as there could be as many animals, because as many ways to look at spiritual life as there are, you know, as many ways as there are to look at love and love life. And there's such a diverse way. You can love life in competition by fighting people and getting in a boxing ring, or you can love life by creating things and feeling, and it's all love, you know. And on some level, at the very baseline of things, if we can learn to love all of this creation, then you truly, truly, truly can ascend and move through the barriers of any religion. If you can love all parts of creation and get involved with everything, you will be ascending to the pinnacle of all spiritual creation. You know, and it's not difficult. It's not a task. You know, it's not something that you have to try and do. You just have to move into the highest point of your mind, see what it is that you want to get done, you know, find your purpose, which might sound easier than it is, but I'll give you some directions in a second. You move to the highest point of your mind, find your purpose and direction, and just move towards it unashamedly, you know? How does one find the highest point of direction in their life? I personally believe that once matter comes into existence and takes on one of those 12 fundamental particle positions, those 12 particle positions give us the map of consciousness, you know? And so if we can take a 12-step path that parallels or walks in line with the path of consciousness, we can take ourselves to the highest thought and in a moment know our true purpose and our evolutionary intent, you know? Now, the way that I do that, or the way that one may do that, is by applying the 12 steps of conscious engaged thought to any element. So if you're going to apply them to yourself and find your highest sense of purpose, you would look at yourself in the first dimension first as a singularity, okay? And you would identify everything that you need in order to survive, you know? And you would firstly start at the very baseline of ensuring that you have your basic survival needs, which means having your food and being fed and being, you know, warm and clothed, but it also means being safe, you know? On some level, our first purpose is to protect ourselves and to protect all of creation with that sense of love. So again, if you can move into the first dimension of your being and devote yourself to A, loving yourself entirely, B, accepting your existence and loving that entirely, C, loving everybody else's existence and accepting that entirely, and D, protecting yourself and other people from those who do not love existence entirely, then you will be on the first step to finding absolute purpose and spiritual ascension with the world. Then we'll move into the second dimension. Once you're safe and once you're happy being you, you can move into the second dimension where you begin to address everything in the universe as something you can do. What does that mean? It means that you can do a mountain. You can see a mountain, you can perceive it as an obstacle, or you can do a mountain and you can perceive it as a journey. You can see a lock and you can perceive it as a lock on a door, or you can do a lock and become a lock picker. Everything in the universe is something you can do. And rather than seeing the things that you can't do yet, look outside of yourself and see what you can do, because everything in the universe is the true nature of what you can do. And everything that you feel like you can't do is just you knowing that you haven't done it yet. That's all you know. All you know is you haven't done it yet. Everything in the universe is something you can do. So once you're beginning to look at the universe as something you can do, you may begin to decide that you don't like how it is. And the third dimension, which is the physical dimension, requires us to be able to physically appreciate everything. on a positive basis, to be able to look at things and find the beauty in them, not expect them to already be beautiful, but to find the beauty in them, which again allows us to see what it is that we can be doing with them. And on a sexual level, that becomes obvious. Like if you look at someone on the third dimension and find out how beautiful they are in the second dimension, you will see how you correspond to them and things you want to do to them, and in the first dimension you will try to make them one with you. And it works in every other sense as well. If you look at a guitar or an instrument and you don't like it, you're like, oh, I don't like guitars, I don't like music, then you won't be the person who thinks that you can do guitars, and you won't become a guitarist. So do it. Perceive the universe as entirely beautiful and entirely something you can do. And then ensure that you are happy being you. Yes, so in the fourth dimension, we come into the harmonious passage through time. This is the necessary thing in order to travel through the fourth dimension and take that positive perspective that we are gaining in the third dimension on all physical matter that allows us to engage with it. We then take a moment to pass through time holding on to that. Okay, because the most important thing about spiritual learning is being able to hold on to the lesson through time. Otherwise, it means nothing. You can learn the most amazing things and you can take the most amazing drugs and have the most amazing realizations. But if you do not take that information through time harmoniously and, willingly allowing it to sink in, then it's just going to fly away. Like God through an open window. You will forget the most important lessons that you learn if you don't hold on to them. Write them down maybe and live them daily, and take them through time with you. Even if it's just 2 or 3 moments when you feel like you're angry at something and you can't get to the next moment without having that anger be satisfied in a way that your ego expects. Take another moment and take another moment and keep taking a moment until you realize that you can pass through time happily doing absolutely anything. Once you are passing through time and allowing yourself to positively view the universe as a beautiful place that you can positively engage with, you will then begin to see your perspective develop as a series of strengths, and you'll begin to see the things that you really like and that you are drawn to through absolute love, and that you just can't help but want to do, and this will be your perspective. It will guide you to beliefs, and it will guide you to ideas, and it will guide you to dreams and fantasies. And the first thing to do in the fifth dimension, as you are observing your perspective, is not to judge or fear it, and to accept entirely your perspective as a communication from the divine. It might be that your perspective is corrupted in the first or through fourth dimensions, and that you have found yourself angry and spiteful and bitter, and you're looking at the world in an angry way, and you're looking at the world as something you can't do, and you're passing through time in a negative manner, which means in the fifth dimension your perspectives may be really angry and you might be really negative, and you just have to observe that. Just observe it with absolutely no judgment. Just look at it and see that it's a crystalline entity inside your mind that just needs to be addressed, and so in the fifth dimension we will just be accepting what we find, and accepting the appreciation that we have developed for the third dimension while trying to view it in a positive light. And if you find it hard to view the third dimension in a positive light, then in the fifth dimension what you're doing is observing the judgments that you have for things, perhaps observing the negativity that comes up when you try and appreciate art. That happens for a lot of people, and so that's what we're going to be doing in the fifth dimension, because in the sixth dimension, once you find that perspective, and hopefully it's a positive one that feels good about the world and feels like it can do things, you will begin hopefully to cultivate that perspective into a cause which will give you a sense of devotion, because your perspectives will be guided towards that which you love. You'll be looking at the world like, hold on a second, this is what I love, this is what I like, I know I can get involved in it and do it like something that's actively I can do. So now that I have the perspective of looking at things as beautiful and knowing what I can do with them, where does my power lie? Where does my devotion lie? Where do you want to put your service in? Because your time and your existence is an ineffable power. you know, the likes of which is heretofore unbeknownst to conscious life on this planet. So you have the power to ascend your perspective into a series of decisions. And that's amazing. Because, you know, once you find perspective and you open it up with love, you'll find your purpose in devotion, you know, and once you have that devotion, it's then time to move into the seventh dimension of effect and begin making something happen, you know. And in the seventh dimension, when you make something happen, that could be just going out and exploring the world and diving into the random nature of things and going with the flow. But allowing yourself to have an open perspective that positively views the world and knows that you can get involved with anything and do anything will mean that while you are out there making your causes with devotion and, and then using that devotion to cause an effect, you will find your purpose, because you will be looking at everything with love. And if you're not looking at everything with love, go back to number one, because you need to look at the entire universe as a part of yourself. If you don't like Justin Bieber, learn to love Justin Bieber, because Justin Bieber is the name of Christ in your life. You know, you gotta learn to love the unlovable thing, whatever it is that you don't love. I don't know what I don't love. There's lots of things I feel like I don't want to give my love to, but you gotta open a space in your heart for them and say, okay, I'm gonna open a space for that so that I can love every part of myself, you know. And that's mad important, because as the seventh dimension is effect, and you will find yourself having put some devotion into a cause and then trying to have an effect on the world, you will see that effect echoes into the eighth dimension as resonance. Resonance is the eighth dimensional principle, and that basically consists in us feeling something, you know, and us seeing the effect of our creation on the rest of the world, you know, which means other people will see it, other people will hear it, you will feel pride, you will feel shame, you will feel abundance, you will feel everything that goes with it, because it will move into the eighth dimension, and everything that you do will affect you, you know, and you'll begin to echo purpose back into yourself once you put the driving force of purpose out there, you know. It's kind of a feedback loop. It's like depression. If you feed depression, it becomes stronger. If you feed your willingness, then it becomes stronger. And willingness is the key to all power in the universe. If you can be willing yourself, will yourself to do it, everything, just will yourself, right, time to get it done, you know, whatever the fuck it is. If you can will yourself, then you will be ascending to the heights of spiritual engagement. There is nothing a religion can teach you that, there is nothing a religion or a spirituality can teach you that will take you beyond the power to will yourself into creating love, you know. I'll talk about angels for a second there, because we have a really beautiful example in Michael rowing the boat ashore to heaven, and Michael being the angel of will who sits at the right hand of God. And I think it's a metaphor for the fact that if you can invoke the angel of will, Michael, you can move yourself directly into the kingdom of heaven, which I believe is a place of happy, blissful, and productive communal creation, where you feel so overjoyed to service the universe with creativity. I mean, all there is creativity. That's all everything is. And if you can be willing to service the universe with your creativity, you will be ascending into the realm of God instantaneously. So then, that's what we're feeling. We're in the eighth dimension, and we're feeling the resonant effect of our devoted causes that come from our perspective of love that we have developed over time through our singular consciousness and our ability to correspond that with our universe. Okay, after you've felt something, you move into the ninth dimension, and the ninth dimension is where you will address all of the others. You'll address yourself as part of the universe. You will address all the things that you can do. You will address all the things that you love about the universe, and you will address how good it feels to carry all the things that you love through time. you will then address how much you enjoy who that makes you, you know, and you will look at yourself as a being and part of a universe that you really freaking enjoy, okay? And then once you're looking at that in the fifth dimension, you will then begin to want to make causes in the universe that have an effect on you and the world around you that truly resonates who you are in the ninth dimension, you know, and you will put those 9 worlds into play, and your life will unconsciously become about purpose. You know, in the ninth dimension, once you have developed that conscious identity, it's now time to move into the 10th dimension and begin to imagine your most luscious, amazing, like abundant, luxurious, just the self that you've always wanted to be. Identify that self inside your mind and apply those 9 steps to your future self. Look at who you are, look at who you want to be, and create it. Create it in a fantastic way, in a superhero kind of way, where there's no way that you could even believe in being the person that you believe that you could be in the future, but be that, because your imagination is the blueprint for creating the first dimensional consciousness that echoes into the 10th dimensional imagination. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, when you imagine something, you exist in your mind in the exact state that you existed at the very beginning of the universe. Right there, you have first dimensional potential for whatever you want. You know, imagination is more powerful than actual existence because it hasn't happened yet. And if the universe loves it, it will create it. And if you can see yourself there, then the universe loves it because it's already existing in your mind. If you can physically see yourself doing it, and if you can imagine the behaviors, then you're already there, and the universe knows. So in the 10th dimension, you're imagining yourself. Once you're imagining yourself, in the 11th dimension, you want to pull that self out of your imagination and show it to everybody else. You know, put the 1 in front of 1 and be the person that you dreamed of. And then be the person that you dreamed of outside of yourself by treating everybody else as though they are the person you dream of inside yourself. You know, don't just be nice. Don't just do to your neighbor as your neighbor would do to you. Do to your neighbor as you would do to the highest celebrity that you would meet in the street. Gush your appreciation and celebration for the human race toward each other, you know, and begin to build outside the reflection of what you want to be inside, and then you will begin to ascend to a realm beyond the natures of God, you know, because God doesn't have the ability to actually manifest in person and be there with each other. So that's our power, you know. And so in the 11th dimension, you have the power to manifest other people's greatest selves and your own greatest self at the same time. And that's amazing, because once you do that, you will move into the 12th dimension of fractal evolution, whereby you will just be becoming everything that you've ever wanted to be. You'll have found purpose, and you will be evolving into an absolutely new realm, you know, and there's nothing more amazing than that. So go with God, man.